Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Brandon here with another great business to discuss on this episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. Today's guest is Josh, and he's selling his affiliate and Amazon Associates business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. So welcome to the show, Josh, and how are you doing today?
How's it going, Brandon? Doing great, and thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, it's really great to have you on, and I'm excited to talk to you about this business you've created. But before we get into the details of it, let's give a quick general overview. So it is an affiliate and Amazon Associates business in the home and equipment niches, created in August 2019. The average monthly revenue for the business is $10,344 and makes an average of $8,744 per month in net profit. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 52822 to learn more about the business, or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. So now that I've given a general overview of the business, what's included in the sale is the domain and all site content and files, social media accounts for Facebook and Twitter, standard operating procedures for editorial guidelines, publishing and link building processes, supplier contacts, and freelance writer contacts. So, Josh, can you tell us a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Yeah, so basically, I got my start with my first job in digital marketing, and the job role was an executive assistant, but I ended up doing pretty much a bunch of different jobs in a business that was highly SEO driven and affiliate marketing driven. So from that first job, just from learning on my own and plus learning outside of the job, I started to kind of build my own websites and had some success with the first website I built, which I sold. And then I've kind of kept doing it since then. So that's essentially how I got my start, just from a job and then learning on my own as well.
Wow, okay. So you already had a little bit of a background, some SEO knowledge and building sites as well through the marketing agency. And where did you get the idea to start this business in the equipment and home niche? Was it just something that you saw as potential during that process and you thought you'd go all in on that?
Yeah, so basically, I was doing a lot of research in niches, and this niche in the home products that I saw, I thought it was a very good niche. Products were stable, looked like the market would be stable. Good value, higher commission products. But those are a lot of things I like to look for in niches. Stability, niches that maybe, aren't super sexy, but, have some, staying power and things that people need, right? Where they're a big need and they're solving a problem for them. So I found this niche and I decided to give it a shot. And here we are now. The site has grown really well and it's in a good spot. So that's, how I found it.
That's amazing. So how would you say that this business is primarily making money then? I know you said you're looking for higher commission affiliates. Would you say affiliate generates the majority of the revenue for the business?
Yeah, so the revenue is 100% affiliate right now, but there are also a lot of other opportunities, I think, in this niche for anyone who's potentially into something like drop shipping or, we'll get into some other avenues, but I think there's some potential to expand the revenue streams.
Okay. And then I also noticed that you also have some Amazon Associates revenue as well coming in for the business.
Yeah, so I guess I didn't mention that. So I would say a small portion is Amazon Associates revenue, but the main portion is private affiliate offers. So that's one thing I liked about this niche as well is, especially in these days with the Amazon program cutting commissions and affiliate marketing moving forward in the future here, I think it's really smart to be in private affiliate programs because you can get higher rates, you can have better relationships, and most of the time there's a less chance of your partner really rapidly and dramatically cutting your commissions. So I think that's one really great thing I like about this site is that most of the revenue comes from private programs.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, I'm sure as a lot of, content site owners that were relying on Amazon, they slowly realized kind of a painstaking update that they made with their commission structure. And yeah, it's great that you've been able to locate affiliates within your niche and really capitalize on them wanting to see you succeed, which is not always so much the case with Amazon, right? Now, if the business is doing so great right now, Josh, why is it that you've decided you'd like to sell it?
Yeah, it's really just, I think, an interest thing. I've lost interest in this site and trying to get it to the next level. So I'm looking at other opportunities and I kind of just ready for a change at this point in my life. I think it's more of a personal and timing thing with what I'm doing in my life right now.
Okay. Yeah, I can completely understand. And you're wanting to see the business succeed and pass the baton on to the next buyer. So yeah, it's always great to hear your take on the reason. And, it's pretty common across the board for a lot of business owners as well, wanting to move on to the next passion project. Now, speaking of that, was there anything that you learned while growing this business that you plan on applying to current or maybe future projects down the road?
Good question. I think basically I tried a few things that didn't work on this site. I would just say, honestly, sticking to the basics that work in SEO. So putting, maximum amount of effort into building the best quality content you can, which we did, but I think it can still be improved. And then maybe putting a little more emphasis on like targeted link building. We did a lot of mass outreach, which was good, but I think there's a lot of opportunities still in like developing, I would say, more targeted relationships in the niche.
Yeah, I completely understand. Now, on the flip side of that, was there anything that you tried with this business and it just didn't give you the ROI that you were expecting?
Yeah. So, I mean, one thing I tried, I always have these, ideas, right? And a lot of times they don't work. But one thing I tried was having a charitable component to it. And so basically, we were donating a portion of profits every month to a charity that was, related to the niche. And, I thought it would help with the link building outreach that we were doing. And, maybe it still can, but I guess what happened was I ended up doing that and I didn't put enough strategy and emphasis into like the specifics of the link building targeting. So it ended up really not doing much. So it was kind of just a waste of time. But yeah, you learn.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things with content sites. We live and we learn and we kind of figure out as we go along, I guess, at the same time. Now, where would you say that a majority of your traffic is coming from? Is most of it coming in through organic search?
Yeah, most of it comes from organic search.
Gotcha. And are you doing anything else in terms of marketing? I noticed you have a few social media profiles for the business. Are you utilizing those at all or doing anything in terms of growing those channels?
No, I haven't done anything to utilize other channels.
Okay. So that's another opportunity for a potential buyer if they might already have that specific skill set to come in and scale those channels further, low-hanging fruit for them to go after. Now, hypothetically speaking, Josh, if you were to keep this business, what are some of the ways that you would personally try and grow it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I actually do think there's a lot of opportunity with this business. And that's why if I didn't get the right deal, I would be fine holding this. I would feel good about it because I do think there's a lot of opportunity. So a couple of things I would say where it can really help take the growth to the next level. Number one, an email list. With the amount of traffic and as it increases over time, starting to gather emails and putting together a good sequence, teaching people about, the products and information they need to know around them, and then pitching the highest converting offers. I really think that just doing that alone can probably double sales or add a good significant portion to the sales of this site because there are some other sites in my niche who are doing email and I'm sure they're doing pretty well. So I would say email is number one. And then number two is essentially getting it back to the revenue level when we really hit it off. End of last year, we had a good promotion and sales period where we really saw the potential of this site. And it's went down a bit since then, but it stayed pretty consistent. But I still think it can get back to that level because there's a lot of untapped traffic potential in the long tail keywords in this niche. So like, for example, in most niches, right, you'll have the main keywords and then you'll have a lot of long tails surrounding. And the good thing about this niche where there's a lot of opportunity still for this site with traffic and revenue is there's a lot of long tails we still aren't ranking, on the first page or top 5 for, which are really great commission keywords. So I think those two things, honestly, the email and then hitting the long tails, focusing more on those, as well as continuing to build the authority of the site. I think that will really get it to its full potential. I think it's totally possible to get there, in the next 6 months.
Yeah, it's a great roadmap that you've established for a potential buyer that might be listening to this call or doing their due diligence on this business, looking to see what opportunities there are that lie within. So that's really great to see that you've already established that roadmap for them. Now, can you walk us through some of the typical operations or maybe some of the weekly tasks that you're performing on the business at this time?
Yeah, so pretty much it's essentially what I do is I just basically do a little bit of management now. And we have 2 writers on board. It can be 1 to 2. You can even work with 1 writer on the site. And then we have an uploader, right? So it's basically just someone, whether an assistant, a manager, someone who's familiar with SEO, kind of looking overview at the writers, assigning articles based on the keyword research in this niche, getting the articles written, making sure that the quality is up to standards and maybe doing a little bit of editing, and then sending those to the uploaders so that they upload the content. And that's pretty much it. It's a pretty simple site and process right now. We were doing more manual outreach for link building at the beginning of this site, but recently I've been outsourcing the link building to another service, or, we've also done some purchasing in the past. So really the main role right now in this website is content publishing. So that, like I said, that consists of assigning articles, getting them written, doing a little bit of editing, and then getting them uploaded by another assistant.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, do you feel that there's a particular skill set that a buyer should have prior to acquiring this business? Or do you think that a majority of the workload or maybe even the operations of the business can be learned or figured out during the transition period?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it can be learned, but I think at least a familiarity with SEO so that you can understand, the strategy and where to kind of target the articles. But I mean, that stuff can be learned as well. But I would say that would help, right? Having a little bit of SEO knowledge and then just, basic digital skills, right? Like someone who can use a computer well, it's probably going to help.
Yeah, definitely. With content sites in general, having a background in SEO is always helpful and beneficial for the owner regardless. So you kind of understand how the machine works in general, right? So yeah, I completely understand with you on that front. Now, on the flip side of that, Josh, what do you feel are maybe some of the potential risks associated with this business that a buyer should be aware of?
Yeah, I think the main risk in any content or SEO business is just algorithm updates, right? So I think it's something that you have to understand going into any business like this. I think any content site, right, has the risk of getting devalued in an algorithm update and maybe losing, 20, 30% of traffic, sometimes even more in some sites. But I think what I've learned doing SEO is over time, right, as long as you're committing to publishing quality content, you have a quality writer, pretty good standards for your writing and editorial, and then you're just trying to create value in your content, I think will be okay. But yeah, that's definitely a risk is algorithm updates and Google traffic losses.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a pretty common knowledge, I guess, across the board for most content site owners with Google algorithm updates, never really knowing what they're going to target at any given time. We may think we know, but it's always a gamble on that front. So I completely understand. Now, Josh, are you willing to commit to a non-compete, meaning you'll stay out of this specific niche for the next 2 years moving forward?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then how much support are you willing to offer potential buyers? Are you going with the typical 30 days of email and Skype support, or did you have something in addition that you would like to add on to that?
I'm willing to do the 30 days email and Skype. And then, I'm open to working with a buyer who's interested. Like we can discuss what's fair, and I want them to have success with this. I want it to grow, right? So whatever they need from me following the sale, like within a month, if we want to get on an extra call or two, I'm cool with that. So I'm willing to work.
Yeah, it's awesome to hear that. And I'm sure that our listeners and potential buyers out there that are doing their due diligence on this business can also see the value in you wanting to see the business succeed and pass the baton on to the next owner and really let them take it to its full potential. Now, are you open to negotiating something like an earnout where you'll receive a large portion of the sales price up front and then smaller payments closing out the deal, say, over the course of a couple months after that?
Yeah, I would say I'm open to negotiating.
Okay, that's good to hear. And then just a few sideline questions for you, Josh. So what advice would you give to our listeners that you wish you knew when you first started this business?
Good question. I think the one thing I've learned doing any SEO or content driven business is just like focus on the fundamentals and focus on getting things to the highest quality and done, the best you can from the start. Because I think a lot of time what happens in content sites is some of your processes at the beginning, or maybe you don't hire the right people or something like that happens. And then you have to kind of make adjustments, right? Maybe 6 months in or whatever, because your quality wasn't like you wanted it to be, right? So I think if anyone's starting in a business like this, take the time to do things right from the beginning and you'll have success, I think. So that's the advice I give.
Yeah, it's really solid advice. It's, putting your all into something instead of just kind of going halfway with your efforts on it is really going to give you the best results down the road because you've really put all of your effort into it, not just half of it. So yeah, really solid advice. Was there any software or tools that really helped you maybe at the start or even managing this business currently?
Yes, my main tool is Ahrefs, like a lot of people who do SEO. I think it covers, pretty much most things you need these days. So I also use, for project management and some of my content processes, I do use Asana to kind of organize that. Google Docs for basic SOPs, writing. And then I use like a rank tracker, right? Like SERPFox and probably a few others, but those are kind of the basic tools.
Yeah, really awesome to hear. And SERPFox is probably one that I haven't heard as often, but I'm sure our listeners will gain some value in doing some research on that and helping their ranking as well too, utilizing that tool. Now, final question, wrapping up the call, Josh. So putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you think that your business is worth buying?
Honestly, I think it's a great deal for a buyer because we've been putting a lot of work in the past 3 to 4 months. And I think it's in a really good position to start seeing solid growth again. It's been pretty steady, like not moving a lot in the past 3-4 months, but I think it's only can go up right now. And I think that if Google, starts to see the work that we've been putting in over the past 3 months, I think it'll get back to the level that, it was able to get to in, the end of last year, November, December. So I think it's honestly a good time to buy this site. I think it's a great opportunity to get a site that has a lot of growth left. And like I mentioned, there's other channels like email and then focusing on a lot of the long tails we haven't even covered that can really take this business to the next level. So I think it's a solid opportunity and it's in a good niche and it doesn't require a ton of work. Just a solid editorial process, I think, can get someone some pretty significant growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. Just kind of looking at this listing I first saw come onto our marketplace and just the foundation that you've already created and established for potential buyers is really great to see as well. And I'm sure, a lot of our potential buyers that are looking at this listing can also see the value in what you've established and built for them to scale even further. And that pretty much wraps up this call. Josh, was there anything else that you'd like to add that I might have missed?
Yeah, I think the only other thing I want to add is just like I said, we've been putting a lot of work in even right now, right? Even as we're looking at maybe getting a sale with this site. So this site's going to be in a really good position to grow. And like I mentioned as well, I'm willing to outline for a buyer, like what exactly they can do, where I think it can get back to the potential that it showed last November. So basically, I'm willing to put together a plan. And I really do think this has that growth left in it. So that's pretty much it.
Okay. Yeah, really awesome mention as well. And I'm sure our potential buyers out there that are listening to this call can also see the value in you wanting to see them succeed and get it to the full potential that the business ultimately does deserve. And yeah, that pretty much wraps up the call, Josh. Thanks again for jumping on and talking to us about your business and everything you've established here. And looking forward to seeing this listing getting sold for you here in the near future.
Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Yep, same here. And all right, everyone. So thanks for listening. To learn more and to see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 52822. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. And once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.